13th of November 2024. This is a brand new edition of Newsfirst's Primetime News, coming to you live and direct from our Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. Bringing you the news this evening for the Newsfirst team, I am Jaimal Ratnayaka.
And I'm Rochelle Tamodra. Let's start off with a look at your headlines for tonight.
Newsfirst Headlines. Main sponsor.
A trusted place for your fixed deposit. Valuable FD, a symbol of stability.
US Embassy rescinds travel advisory issued for Arugambe. All set for general election 2024. Ballot boxes transported to 13,314 polling centers. Voting commences at 7 a.m. and ends at 4 p.m. tomorrow. Sri Lanka Police establishes Special Operations Centre for general election. Licenses of 5 liquor manufacturers to be suspended should they fail to settle outstanding dues before November 30th. Donald Trump appoints Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy to lead new government efficiency initiative. Kusal Mendes and Avishka Fernando shine with centuries against New Zealand during first ODI.
Against Pakistan, I beg your pardon, 23, and his first 100.
Newsfirst Headlines. Main sponsor.
A trusted place for your fixed deposit. Valuable FD, a symbol of stability.
In our top story for tonight, the US Embassy in Colombo has lifted travel restrictions issued for Arugambe.
The US Embassy in Colombo issued travel restrictions on the 23rd of October 2024, adding that US citizens are strongly urged to avoid the Arugambe area until further notice. It said that the embassy received credible information warning of an attack targeting popular tourist locations in the Arugambe area. The US Embassy in Colombo today lifted the travel restrictions. In a statement today, the US Embassy in Colombo encouraged all US citizens to review the travel advisory for Sri Lanka, maintain vigilance, be aware of their surroundings, and report suspicious activity and emergencies to local authorities.
Sri Lanka decides.
Preparations for the general election have concluded as voting is set to begin at 7 a.m. tomorrow. The total number of eligible voters for the election stands at 17,140,354.
5,006 candidates representing recognized political parties are contesting the 2024 general election. Meanwhile, 3,346 independent candidates are contesting the election. Today, ballot boxes were transported to 13,314 polling stations and election staff have been deployed accordingly. A total of 1,204 polling stations have been established in the Colombo district. The final preparations for the deployment of officials and transportation of ballot boxes were completed today.
Vote counting will take place at 197 centres. Over 24,800 officials have been deployed for election duties. All preparations have been carried out very efficiently. Voting will begin at 7 a.m. tomorrow and will conclude by 4 p.m. Vote counting will take place again at 2 designated centres. All officials are arriving and everything is proceeding very smoothly. Postal vote counting will begin at 4 p.m. and the vote counting will begin at 5:30 p.m.
Gutama district, which has the highest number of registered voters, has been allocated 19 parliamentary seats.
No incidents of violence or any other serious events have been reported during the pre-election period. We expect that voting will begin at 7 a.m. tomorrow and especially the counting of postal votes will start by 4 p.m. By 7:30 p.m. ballot boxes will be returned to the respective counting centres. After that we will start counting of votes.
735 polling stations have been established in the Kalutara district.
About 10,000 officials have been deployed for election duties. All necessary preparations for the voting process have been organized very well. The current weather conditions are also favorable. The people of Kalutara are being urged to go to their respective polling stations and vote promptly tomorrow morning.
12 seats have been allocated for the Kandy district.
හෙට උදෑසන 7 වෙනකොට ඡන්දය පාවිච්චි කිරීම සඳහා සියලු මධ්‍යස්ථ
All polling stations will open at 7 a.m. tomorrow for people to cast their votes. The process is expected to conclude by 4 p.m. We expect the first ballot box to reach the counting centers by 4:30 p.m. Vote counting will take place in Polgola. There are no doubts about the organization of security measures. Please cast your vote promptly.
බියක් සැකක් නැතුව සියලු ආරක්ෂක කටයුතු සංවිධානය කරලා තියෙන නිසා ඔබේ ඡන්දය කඩිනමින් ප්‍රකාශ කරන්න කියන එක තමයි ඉල්ලන්නේ.
In the Mandalay district, 329 polling stations have been established.
A total of 3,756 officials will be on election duties. 1,383 officers will be assigned to vote counting activities. 1,693 police officers have been deployed for security purposes. All arrangements are in place to ensure a free and fair election.
The transportation of ballot boxes to polling stations has concluded in the Nuwara district. The main polling station in Nuwara is located at Gamini National School, from where ballot boxes were transported to other stations under strict security measures. In the Gaul district, 715 polling stations have been established.
More than 3,500 police officers have been deployed. The weather forecast is favorable as well. All necessary preparations for conducting the elections have been completed.
220 candidates are contesting for 7 parliamentary seats from the Matara district.
According to the weather forecast, there are chances of heavy rain tomorrow, particularly in the Valigama area during the evening. We are urging all voters to visit the polling stations early and cast their votes before the rain begins.
Ballot boxes were transported from the Hambantota main polling station to 4 other polling stations today.
Given the weather conditions expected tomorrow, it would be better to cast your vote early in the morning. I request the people of Hambantota to go to the polling stations and vote tomorrow morning.
Ballot boxes were transported by boat this morning to the polling station in Delft Island with the support of Sri Lanka Navy. Kurunegala district returning officer explained about the preparations of the Kurunegala district.
Nearly 16,000 government officials and 4,000 police officers have been deployed across the Kurunegala district for election duties. In addition, the wildlife department is on standby to remove any wildlife elephants from areas where they are known to roam.
11 parliamentarians will be elected from the Ratnapura district, with 18 recognized political parties and 7 independent groups contesting the election.
Approximately 13,500 officers have been deployed for election duties, along with 3,200 police officers and 540 civil defense officers. As long as there are no weather-related issues, we should be able to conduct the election in our district smoothly.
Nearly 2,000 police officers have been deployed to ensure security during the election in the Anuradhapura district.
More than 900 government officials have been deployed for their election duties. In addition to the police, throughout the pre-election period and up to now, all activities in the district have been proceeding peacefully.
These were the preparations in the Kegol district for tomorrow's general election.
All activities are proceeding smoothly so far. 2 main counting centers are operational. Approximately 8,400 officials are involved in these efforts, while nearly 2,400 police officers have been deployed to ensure security during the election.
240 candidates from 15 recognized political parties and 5 independent groups are contesting the general election in the Badulla district.
We will begin counting of postal votes tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. and we expect to release the postal vote results by 10:30 p.m. The first set of results from the Badulla district is expected to be released by 11:30 p.m.
Officials were sent to polling stations in the Puttalam district and ballot boxes were dispatched from the St. Andrews Central College in Puttalam. Ballot boxes and officials were dispatched to polling stations in the Digamadula district from Hardy Institute of Technology. Ballot boxes were sent and officials were dispatched to polling stations across Batticaloa. Monaragala district returning officer explained the preparations of the district.
The security situation is currently very stable, with no complaints received today. Police officers are prepared to begin mobile patrols covering polling centres and the districts.
Ballot boxes and officials were dispatched from Polonnaruwa Royal College today. The ballot boxes and officials were dispatched to the polling stations across the Vanni electoral district. Around 4,000 police officers have been deployed for election duties in the Trincomalee district.
What is the accurate method of casting a vote at the parliamentary election?
We would like to explain in detail the voting procedure in the interest of the voters. There are 2 types of ballot papers this time around. For the 3 districts of Polonnaruwa, Monaragala and Kegol, there exists a paper with 1 column as such. For the remaining 19 districts fielding a larger number of candidates, a ballot paper with 2 columns will be used. Your vote should be marked with a cross sign, which is mandatory, inside the box next to the symbol of the party or the independent group you prefer. Your vote should be given to either a political party or an independent group. If you fail to do so, your vote will be invalid. Once that is done, you are eligible to mark 3 preferential votes. The bottom of the ballot paper has been allocated for that purpose. Numbers representing each candidate of relevant districts are placed in order. Those numbers represent the candidate number. You are able to cast your vote in such a manner. I am showing you what a valid vote for one candidate looks like. You are also eligible to cast your votes as you desire for 2 other candidates, but this can only be done after you have voted for either a political party or an independent group. This is a ballot paper with 2 valid votes and this has 3 valid votes. A candidate list has been sent to your homes for you to identify candidates' numbers and a model of the ballot paper has been attached to it. You are eligible only to vote for candidates belonging to the political party or independent group that you have already voted for, and below are the numbers of those whom you are capable of casting your votes.
How does a vote become invalid?
I would like to remind you all that if you vote for more than 1 political party or independent group and more than 3 candidates, your vote is invalid. If the ballot paper is marked with something in order to make it recognizable, that vote would also be cancelled. I would like to highlight that voting is a right granted to you by the Constitution of Sri Lanka, and so it is your responsibility to use it.
What is the message given by the Election Commission to the voters?
As a country, we are making decisions about the place that enacts laws that govern us. Therefore, let us all cooperate and elect a parliament that is suitable for this purpose. Cast your vote on the 14th. Funds have already been allocated for all 17,140,354 of you. While the money has not been paid yet, the necessary expenses have already been incurred. If our names are on the electoral register, if we are voters and if we are citizens of this country, we have a duty to fulfill this responsibility. So be prepared and go and cast your vote with understanding. What we need is a better country. From the perspective of the Commission, we have made a start in an effort we have been working on for a long time. I am asking for your cooperation to continue this effort.
In preparation for Sri Lanka's upcoming general election, the police have set up a special operations centre to coordinate security efforts. People can report election-related issues or provide information by calling the designated hotline numbers 011 2027 149, 011 2013 244 or 011 242 1111. Police spokesperson DIG Nihal Thalduwa expressed these views.
Sri Lanka Police, Police Vicheshakar Balakaya, Sri Lanka Yuddha Hamudava.
Sri Lanka Police, the Special Task Force, the Sri Lanka Army along with the Air Force, Navy and Civil Defence Force, all these institutions have been integrated to manage the operations at this centre. We are conducting surveillance via drones. Additionally, 3,109 mobile patrols will be deployed across the country, with 602 police officers stationed for patrol duties. We are also monitoring activities on social media platforms in relation to the elections. These efforts have been initiated specifically for election security and are part of our operations starting today. These actions will be used for legal purposes and as evidence.
He also expressed these views to the media.
There are 54 counting centres located across the country. Once we have deployed our personnel to these centres, the Police Special Task Force will monitor the counting centres in Colombo, in the Western Province, using drones around the clock. We will not allow any gatherings around these centres. In total, over 1,000 officers will be directly involved in election duties. The number of officers deployed in the field will exceed 3,000. We have also mobilized riot police and roadblock operations. In terms of overall security, we are deploying an unprecedented number of officers to ensure the safety and integrity of the election process. People were seen travelling from Colombo to their hometowns since this morning to cast their vote at the general election. This was the situation today at the central bus stand in Colombo Fort.
සෙනග වැඩි ටිකක්. ඒකයි මේ බස් ප්‍රමාදයක් නෑ සෙනග ඉන්න ඒ නිසා බස් උඩ අඩුයි. බස් තියෙනවා සෙනග වැඩියනේ. මාර සෙනගක්. හොඳයි බස් සර්විස් එක. මෙන්නට වැඩි.
The people who arrived to travel to Nuwara and Hatton said that they were made to stand in long queues.
අයම ආර ඉඳලා ඉන්නවා. ආර ඉඳලා පොලිමේ ඉන්නේ අපි.
පෑ දෙකක් විතර ඉන්නවා තාම.
බස් නෑ නේද? බස් නේ කොච්චර වෙලා ඉන්නවද දැන්?
නෝරෙල යන්නේ බස් නෑ. පාමාර ඉඳලා ඉන්නේ.
Chairman of the Sri Lanka Transport Board, Ramal Sirivardhana, said that sufficient number of buses have been deployed.
The additional bus services that commenced yesterday from the central bus stand in Petta will continue to operate today. Today, 43 additional buses have been deployed since morning in addition to the scheduled travel time. Generally, Hatton, Kandy, Nuwara and Badul areas have more passengers. About 20 buses have been running, especially to Hatton so far. Moreover, additional buses have been deployed to Nuwara, Badul and Kandy. We faced an issue today because 1,017 buses have been deployed for election duties. 291 buses have been deployed to transport police officers for election activities. We have run 43 additional buses in addition to the scheduled routes so far. We have prepared 80 additional buses to run today.
A large number of passengers were waiting in long queues to leave for their destinations at the private bus stand in Colombo Fort. This was the situation at the Colombo Fort railway station today. Meanwhile, Deputy Director of the Railway Department MJ Idipolage said that sufficient trains have been added for the people travelling to their hometowns for the general election.
An extra carriage has been added to the night mail travelling to Trincomalee as well as to the Yal Devi train tomorrow morning. We also hope to operate office trains as usual tomorrow.
This
was the situation at the Colombo Fort railway station this afternoon.
The Ministry of Education said that all schools across Sri Lanka will be closed today and tomorrow, as the 2024 general election will be held tomorrow. The ministry said that the holidays were granted following a request from the National Election Commission. Accordingly, schools will reopen on Monday, the 18th of November. Meanwhile, all state universities will also be closed today and tomorrow. Chairman of the University Grants Commission, Professor Kapila Senviratna, said that instructions regarding this have been issued to the vice-chancellors of all state universities. The National Election Commission has said that all employees working in private and state banks as well as financial institutions should be granted leave to enable them to vote during the election. In its statement, the Commission emphasized that this leave should be provided without any reduction in regular leave or salary cuts.
The Disaster Management Centre has introduced 6 hotlines to report any potential disasters during the election period. The numbers are 070-211-7117, 011-366-8032, 011-366-8087, 011-366-8025, 011-366-8026 and 011-366-8019. This special program will remain in effect until the 16th of November. The Disaster Management Centre said that the program will be carried out jointly with the Department of Meteorology, Department of Irrigation, National Building Research Organisation, the Triforces and the police. Meanwhile, the Department of Meteorology has warned that the central, Uva, Sabaragamuwa and southern provinces may experience thunder showers accompanied by severe lightning in the evening or night. An advisory for severe lightning has been issued, warning that thunder showers and lightning are also likely in the Kalutara and Kurunegala districts.
Sri Lanka Decides will kick off its special coverage for the 2024 general election at 6 a.m. tomorrow. We will be broadcasting live from the Newsfirst studios in Colombo and the election headquarters at Stein Studios in Ratmalana, providing you with updates from across the country using the latest technology. We now cross over to Newsfirst's Naveksha Gunasekara for an update on the preparations.
Tomorrow marks a pivotal moment in the history of Sri Lanka as the general election 2024 takes place tomorrow. 8,888 candidates, and you will decide as to who the 225 candidates will be to represent your aspirations and your hopes in the Parliament of Sri Lanka. I'm currently here at Stein Studios in Ratmalana, where the election headquarters will take place, and we're geared up to bring to you live and direct all the election results first and fast, and an in-depth analysis in all 3 languages across all platforms, from television, radio, web and even SMS alerts. So stay with us as we're going to be bringing to you first and fast as and when everything unfolds as Sri Lanka decides on the general election 2024.
News First with the people.
The Attorney General informed the Supreme Court today that the licenses of 5 liquor companies will be revoked if they fail to pay their tax arrears before the 30th of November. The Attorney General made this statement when a fundamental rights petition filed by social activist Sanjay Mahapatra and others was called up by the Supreme Court today.
The petition was called up before a Supreme Court bench comprising Justices Preeti Padman Surasena, Yasantha Kodaguda and Priyantha Fernando. Additional Solicitor General Nerin Pulle said that 5 companies including W.M. Mendes, Finlay Distilleries, Synergy Distilleries, Hingurana Distilleries and Royal Distilleries, who are named as respondents in the petition, have been informed to take steps to pay the outstanding tax arrears by the 30th of November. The Additional Solicitor General also said before the court that the license of these companies will be suspended if they fail to settle the arrears. After considering the facts, the bench fixed a date for the calling of the petition on the 22nd of January next year and ordered the respondents to inform the progress of the process on that day. Petitioners said that the value of the tax evaded by the 5 respondent liquor production companies is close to 6 billion rupees. They also pointed out that the continuous evasion of tax payments has caused significant detriment to the national economy. The petitioners requested for an order from the courts to the Commissioner General of Excise to collect the relevant taxes. The petitioners have also requested the Supreme Court to issue an order for the cancellation of license of companies that evade tax payments.
Two suspects have been arrested by the Criminal Investigation Department for allegedly using the name of Dr. Palitha Mahipala, the Secretary of the Ministry of Health, to trick doctors into sending money via EasyCash.
The arrests were made after Dr. Palitha Mahipala, the Secretary of the Ministry of Health, filed a complaint with the police. The suspects are accused of contacting several doctors over the phone, pretending to be Dr. Palitha Mahipala and demanding money on two separate occasions. The suspects are residents of Walasmulla and Matale. In one instance, one suspect received money and in exchange handed over a package of ice to the other suspect. They were found to have also extorted money from some directors of the Sri Lanka Transport Board. One of the suspects had previously served a 40-year prison sentence and was released under a general amnesty before being arrested again for this crime.
A luxury SUV that was illegally assembled has been discovered at a house in Vitharande near Tangol.
Police said that the vehicle was discovered following information received by the Mathura Crime Division. A resident of Ambilipitia has been arrested on suspicion of possessing the illegally assembled vehicle. The Mathura Crime Division will continue to conduct further investigations into the matter.
President's Counsel Chandaka Jayasundara, appearing on behalf of Nilantha Jayawardena, informed the Court of Appeal today that a disciplinary inquiry has been launched against the former director of the State Intelligence Service and it will be conducted in future. The investigation pertains to allegations that Nilantha Jayawardena failed to take action despite receiving prior intelligence about the Easter Sunday attacks. Court was apprised on the matter today when a petition filed by the Centre for Society and Religion was called up again.
Attorney representing the petitioners requested a date to confirm the details of the petition when the petition was called up in the presence of Court of Appeal Justices Sobita Rajakaruna and Mahenko Pallava. President's Counsel Chandaka Jayasundara, representing Nilantha Jayawardena, informed the court that an inquiry is currently underway against his client as directed by the Supreme Court. He also confirmed that the relief sought by the petitioners had been granted. The judges set the next hearing for the 27th of February and instructed the parties to file any objections by the 15th of January, with further filings allowed within 3 weeks. The petition addresses the failure to take legal action against Jayawardena, the former head of the State Intelligence Service, despite recommendations by the Presidential Commission of Inquiry following the Easter Sunday attacks. The petitioners argue that despite the Commission's call for legal action, neither the IGP nor the Attorney General has taken steps. Therefore, the petitioners have requested for an order to be issued to the respondents to take appropriate legal action against Nilantha Jayawardena in accordance with the recommendations of the Commission.
A 27-year-old man died after falling from a wooden bridge near Dambakola Falls, a tributary of the Rakbana River. His wife, 4 months pregnant, now faces an uncertain future. Villagers blame authorities' negligence for the loss of a life cut short far too soon.
මේ පාලම සභාවට ගිහිල්ලා කිව්වා ආණ්ඩුකරුන්ට කිව්වා මන්ත්‍රීවරුන්ට කිව්වා ඒ කවුරුවත් අපිට හදලා දුන්නේ නැහැ. ඊට පස්සේ අපේ සල්ලි වලට හදන්න. ඒ ලැබෙනාන් පස්සේ සභාවෙන් කොහෙම හදන්න බෑ. ඒක පිය අනුමැතියක් ඕනේ. ඒක හරියට කරන්න ඕනේ. එහෙම කියලා ඒකත් නැවතුවා. ඒ ඊනේ වැස්සලා අපේ කොල්ලේ කම ජීවිතේ නැති වුණා. ඒවට වගේ කියන්නේ කවුද?
Nadika Nuwantilaka Ratna, a bank employee, had set out of town yesterday for some important business. Villagers said that while crossing the wooden bridge, he lost his footing and fell into the Dambakola Falls. His body was found this morning.
දැන් මෙයාගේ තාත්තා මෙතනින් වතුරටලා ඔයාගේ අවශ්‍ය වෙලා පාන්දර මං හිතන්නේ කොටටයිල එයා ජීවිතේ බේරගත්තා. ඒක ඇත්තටම ඛේදවාචකයක් තමයි මේවා මේ ඇත්තටම බලධාරීන් බලන්න ඕන දේවල්නේ. තරුණ ජීවිතයත් අපි නැති උනේ. අපිට තවත් මේක ජීවිත බිලි දෙන්න බෑ මේකට. අපිට මේ කොහොම හරි අපිට කරලා දෙන්න කියලා තමයි අපි ඉල්ලන්නේ බලධාරීන්ගෙන්.
Soundproof generators, long-term rent, Multiways Engineering Private Limited, number 54/1, Delgahavatta Road, Ratmalana.
Newsfirst, main sponsor.
Generators for long-term rent, Multiways Engineering Private Limited.
A trusted place for your fixed deposit. Valuable FD, a symbol of stability.
Soundproof generators, long-term rent, Multiways Engineering Private Limited, number 54/1, Delgahavatta Road, Ratmalana.
A new board of directors of the Information and Communication Technology Agency, or ICTA, was appointed today.
According to the President's Media Division, Dr. Hans Vijay Surya, recently appointed by President Anurakumara Dissanayake as the Principal Presidential Advisor on Digital Economy, will chair the board in a non-executive role. Other board members include Sanjay Karunasena, Harsha Purasinghe, Chandima Kure, Bandula Ranatunga, Jeffrey Salfer, Sami Sabesinghe and Shanaka Rebel. The first meeting of the newly appointed Board of Directors of the Information and Communication Technology Agency was held today.
Soundproof Generators, Long-Term Rent, Multiways Engineering Private Limited, number 54.1, Delgahavatta Road, Ratmalana.
The official website for the film Gutama Buddhamatha was launched yesterday, marking the beginning of its promotional campaign ahead of its December release.
Directed by Professor Sunil Aryaratna, Gutama Buddhamatha is a cinematic portrayal inspired by the life of Mahaprajapati Gautami, the revered queen and one of the earliest followers of the Buddha. Produced by Thilanka Sumatipala for Sumati Universal Private Limited, the film features a powerful musical score composed by Dr. Rohana Veerasinghe, with Channa Deshapriya handling the cinematography. The film also features performances by renowned Indian actors, adding an international dimension to this significant Sri Lankan production. Gutama Buddhamatha is set to be released in cinemas across Sri Lanka on the 10th of December.
US President-elect Donald Trump has named Elon Musk to a role aimed at creating a more efficient government, handing even more influence to the world's richest man who donated millions of dollars to helping Trump get elected.
Ever since US President-elect Donald Trump was re-elected, he has been making several appointments, several significant appointments in the government that he is hoping to build. Now, one such significant appointment was made today when Trump appointed someone who has been backing and supporting Trump in his election campaign leading to the 2024 presidential election, especially very well through social media. I'm sure by now it's no surprise that it is none other than Elon Musk. The social media businessman and investor has been appointed by Donald Trump, to head a new initiative in the US government. Let's take a look on what this is. US President-elect Donald Trump has tapped Elon Musk, the CEO of SpaceX and Tesla, to head a new initiative aimed at reforming government bureaucracy. The project, called the Department of Government Efficiency, or the DOGE, will focus on streamlining federal operations and cutting waste. Trump also announced that Vivek Ramaswamy, a biotech investor and former Republican presidential candidate, will join Musk in leading the effort. The acronym DOGE refers to Musk's favorite cryptocurrency, Dogecoin, which the president-elect said reflects the initiative's goal of modernizing government practices. While DOGE is not an official government department, which would require congressional approval, Trump said the pair would work with the White House and the Office of Management and Budget to address inefficiencies in the U.S. government's $6.5 trillion annual budget. Musk, a major donor to the Trump campaign, has long been speculated for a role in the administration. Ramaswamy, who dropped out of the 2024 Republican presidential race and endorsed Trump, will assist with the reform efforts. Trump set a deadline for the project to be completed by the 4th of July, which is America's Independence Day in 2026.
World leaders enter their third day of climate talks at COP29 in Baku, Azerbaijan, marking a critical juncture in discussions focused on climate action and multilateral cooperation.
The The 2024 United Nations Climate Change Conference, or Conference of the Parties of the UNFCCC, more commonly known as COP29, continued with addresses from heads of state and government as countries reiterated commitments to combat climate change. Heads of states and representatives from the Islamic Republic of Iran, Kuwait, Croatia, Greece, Italy, Bahamas, Georgia, Bangladesh, Pakistan, the Republic of Korea, the Russian Federation and many other countries addressed the summit on its third day. Another highlight of today's summit is a leaders' summit of the Small Islands Developing States on climate change, in which President of Azerbaijan addressed the delegates.
I call on developed countries, especially with the colonial past, to provide tangible financial and technical support to small island states so that they can protect their countries from climate change complications. Climate change affects every country, including Azerbaijan. We see that year after year, Caspian Sea becomes more and more shallow. We see that there are less waters in our rivers, less snow in our mountains, and floods and heavy rains, which we have never experienced in the past, today unfortunately is a reality. So every country is affected, but for its existential threat. Azerbaijan is demonstrating its unwavering support to small island states.
As COP29 progresses, world leaders are expected to announce further initiatives to address climate threats through collaborative international approaches.
The first ODI between New Zealand and Sri Lanka is currently underway at the Rangiri Dabula International Stadium. The first ODI between the two teams was delayed by rain. When the match was temporarily halted, Sri Lanka, batting first, had scored 324 runs for the loss of 5 wickets in 49.2 overs. As rain persisted, the match officials decided to end Sri Lanka's innings at 324 for the loss of 5 wickets and set a revised target for the New Zealanders, which is set at 221 for victory in 27 overs as per the Duckworth-Lewis method.
This is the first ODI encounter taking place at the Rangiri Dabula International Cricket Stadium after a lapse of 6 years. Winning the toss, Sri Lanka decided to bat first. Sri Lanka's innings began with Pathum Nissanka opening alongside Avishka Fernando. However, after the first delivery of the match, the game had to be temporarily halted for more than 30 minutes due to rain. Once play resumed, Pathum Nissanka was dismissed for 12 runs, with Sri Lanka's first wicket partnership being limited to just 17 runs. Kusal Mendis joined Avishka Fernando at the crease and helped build Sri Lanka's innings. Kusal Mendis scored his 4th ODI century today. This is his first ODI century in Sri Lanka since 2020. Avishka Fernando scored his 4th ODI century today. His innings included 4 boundaries and 2 sixes. The duo strengthened Sri Lanka's innings by adding a 206-run partnership for the second wicket. It is the third highest second wicket partnership in ODIs by Sri Lankan batsmen. Charita Solanka scored 40 runs.
The International Olympic Committee has called for the immediate suspension of the Secretary General of the National Olympic Committee of Sri Lanka, Maxwell De Silva.
This decision was taken following the conclusions and the recommendations submitted by the Ethics Committee of the National Olympic Committee. Jerome Poivy, Assistant Director, Institutional and Governance Services of the IOC-NOC Relations Department, in an email dated 11th November 2024, has urged Suresh Subramaniam, President, National Olympic Committee of Sri Lanka, to convene an urgent meeting of the NOC Executive Board and take appropriate action without any further delay in accordance with the NOCSL Constitution. Poivy said in his letter addressed to Subramaniam, quote, "We understand in particular that your NOC Ethics Committee has reviewed the allegations which have been raised and provided recommendations which, for unknown reasons, have not yet been considered by your NOC Executive Board." Unquote. Meanwhile, President of the National Olympic Committee of Sri Lanka, Subramaniam, has called on the Executive Board of the NOCSL to implement the recommendations by the Ethics Committee of the NOCSL against the incumbent Secretary General of the NOCSL, Maxwell De Silva. He said, quote, "I wish to note that the decisions and or recommendations and or conclusions reached by the Ethics Committee are made after careful consideration and deliberation. Hence, any reason for not implementing the recommendation of the Ethics Committee in the instant case would need to be possessed of a clear and convincing rationale."
And that's a wrap of Primetime News for tonight.
Thank you for joining us. Good night.